What's going on, guys? Chuck here with another awesome Blu-ray purchase. What I got today is a new release from the Criterion Collection, and without further ado, it is from 1989, Godzilla versus Biollante. I know some people say Biollante, Biollante. They say Biollante in the movie. That's how I'm going to say it. Of course, this is the second film in the, I believe it's the Heisei series, and I do apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. By full disclosure, I'm not the biggest kaiju fan, or knowledgeable about it. Outside of really Godzilla or any, Gamera film I saw on MST3K. But I am a fan of this particular cycle, I guess if you will, of the Godzilla films. Now I've seen all of the previous ones, which I know Criterion also released in that big book, which was really cool to have all that collection, but I understand that was a really bad packaging thing. And admittedly, I was kind of hoping that they would do the same thing for this series, because I really like this particular, like I said, cycle of Godzilla films. I think one of the things I liked about them was they had a very tight sense of continuity, which is something none of the other Godzilla films I've seen really have. Past this with the Millennium series, each one seemed to be like its own individual film and so on and so forth. They never seem to have too many continuations of one another. But this particular series, the Heisei, again, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Heisei series, starting with the Return of Godzilla, aka Godzilla 1985, up until Godzilla vs. Destroya, all had its, basic kind of a, very tight continuity, recurring characters in storylines. They also had the same theme of basically Godzilla versus an evil or version of Godzilla. Case in point, well, not all of them, but most of them. Case in point, Godzilla versus Biollante is basically what Godzilla cells mixed with a plant and a human soul. Okay. Later on, you've got stuff like, of course, Mecha Godzilla, Space Godzilla, even Destroy as some kind of form of Godzilla in some way or another. So that's kind of a recurring theme. But again, this was a step up from, the old 60s and 70s Godzilla films. And it was at the Showa series, I think that's called. The classic, the classic, but somewhat kind of goofy. By the time they ended that series, which were fun. I remember watching those a lot on TV as a kid. But it's this series I really like because it kind of made Godzilla more of a menace in my eyes, and I really just, again, of course, you're going into the 90s at this point, because Godzilla 1985 obviously, came out in 84 in Japan, 85 here, and this was like 4 or 5 years later. So you're going in the 90s with this series, and I just like the more serious nature, for the most part, of it. So like I said, I was really excited that Criterion put this out, although I wish they would have put out Return of Godzilla first, because I really like to get a good version of that one. But nonetheless, they put this out in a Blu-ray 4K, and it is a very great release. Now, also, I think I mentioned this a minute ago. If not, I'm a little loopy, still getting over that cold. It'd be nice if they would have put this whole series together. But then again, if it means they were going to package like the previous series, maybe we're better off if they can release these all individually. Either way, I hope they do put this whole series out. I'd love to collect it. I'm not going to go much into the film itself, because I'm sure if you're watching this, you're probably a Godzilla fan. The plot, Godzilla, plant Godzilla. There's more to it. Don't get me wrong. But I won't get out to it. But let's just talk about, the release here. So here's the Criterion release. So it's a great artwork. I do like that a lot. You're back here. All your special features. Now, there's not a whole lot of special features on here, and I believe, from what I can tell, they're archival, probably from the previous Blu-ray special releases they had of this series years ago. And then here you've got two discs. You got your 4K. Is it upside down? That is upside down. Your 4K disc, and then your Blu-ray. All your special features are on the Blu-ray. The commentary is on the 4K also, but everything else will be on the Blu-ray. And inside, you've got a nice little poster here. Get this on. Here we go. So here's a nice little artwork here of Biollante and Godzilla. That's really nice. I believe that's the menu image also on the disc. And on the back, you have your typical Criterion Collection write-up. It's interesting that, usually their folders are wide, but this is, a little different. This is still kind of cool. I haven't actually gone through this and read this. I will, though. And nothing on the backside except this is Godzilla, Biollante, and, dark letters. You can kind of see that on the discs. And that's all that is in packaging. As for the film itself, I did watch the 4K. And I gotta say, it looked beautiful. Now, I've only seen this movie, honestly, once before, and that was on DVD years ago. And this is the time when, before those Blu-ray collections were released, this is, when this was hard to find. A lot of these early films were very hard to find here in the States. You find Godzilla 1985 on video, but the rest of them you really couldn't find. So it was, somehow I think it was probably on Netflix when they were still a mail service, and you can had your disc mailed to you. I think I saw it that way. But this looked absolutely beautiful. I mean, the images were so clear, crisp. Now, full disclosure, I also watched this on a projection screen, so I didn't see it on the TV. I did watch the 4K projector, so your image may vary. But what I saw was it was just. I mean, I couldn't. I don't want to say smooth. That's not quite the right word, but it looked flawless. Almost to the point because there were sometimes you could see those fishing lines for some of these special effects, but very, very, very few. One thing I did notice early on in the film, there's a lot of white. People are wearing white. There is like the white backgrounds. It's kind of it kind of mutes the film. Now that I don't think. Let's see. It doesn't say anything here about an HDR or Dolby Vision or anything like that. So now my player is saying it's the HDR is active, but I don't know if it's really effective since this doesn't have it. But like I said, the color was excuse me. Color in the beginning of the white seemed like it was a little muted, but even throughout some of it later on in the film. It was the night towards the climax. You kind of got even though there's some daylight scenes, it's kind of a muted color palette, or not a color palette, the color timing, I guess you want to call it. Not that it's bad. It's not sticking out bright when it's kind of more earthy and but looks realistic. So it's and I'm probably not doing a great job of describing this. Again, I'm not a technical person. I can only tell you what my eyes see, and you see my eyes aren't great. I'm a couple of days from 50. Who knows how much longer these eyes are going to last? But nonetheless, the outside of not really bright shining color, the picture was crisp and clean and clear, and it looked fantastic. It looked absolutely beautiful. I really loved how clean and clear it looked. Now this says as a 5.1 or 5.0 surround DTS track. It does have a surround track. I did listen to it, obviously, and played in that. But it's nothing to really overwhelm you or it's to get excited about, honestly. The music sounds good. It's playing, and you have a couple directional effects, but nothing. Even with the battle scenes and and the all that, there's the action. There's not a whole lot of use of surround, from what I can tell. I didn't really pick up too much, very, very little. Most of it is, came through your front speaker, so it really could have been just a basic stereo soundtrack instead of a 5.0. But I mean, there was few, but not a whole lot. Nothing to wow you or anything like that. Also, should be noted, there is no English dub on this disc. It is strictly Japanese, with subtitles, of course. So that kind of thing, which I have a problem. I actually, kind of prefer watching these in the original Japanese, because then you don't have to deal with goofy dubs. Excuse me. But I found it interesting that they didn't give you an option for a dub, so it was strictly Japanese. Unless I missed it. I went through, looking at, the options, and really all they was basically subtitles off or on. That was your options. And just play movie. There was nothing about it changing. The only audio tracks they had were the Japanese, or the only English one was the commentary that plays on here. So the film is just a Japanese audio with English subtitles. So that's something I think that, you should be made aware of if that's something that matters to you, if you don't like reading subtitles. Pardon me. I'm hoping to get over this soon. So let's look at the special features on here. Again, I think most of these are just archival, but we'll read what it says here. It's a new 4K digital restoration with 5.0 surround DTS HD master audio soundtrack, one 4K UH disc of the film, and one Blu-ray with the film and special features. New audio commentary featuring film historian Sam Dahan, host of the podcast Eros, or Eros and Massacre, and co-editor of the book Revolution in 35mm. A making-of program from 1993 featuring director Kazuki Amori and special effects director Koichi Kawakita. I do apologize if I'm butchering those names, among others. A short documentary from 1993 about the Biollante and Super X2 vehicle concepts. Deleted special effects, TV spots and trailers, new English subtitle translation, plus an essay by science fiction and horror film expert Jim Cirinella. So yeah, I mean, it get a new English dub translation or subtitle translation, which they all heard well. They felt it was good. They all made sense. So, but that's it as far as that. So yeah, the Godzilla vs. Biollante 4K from Criterion Collection. I think if you don't have this film and you're a big Godzilla fan, definitely worth checking out or picking up. Again, the 4K looks beautiful, and it does have the Blu-ray. I'm assuming the Blu-ray is also remastered too. Maybe not. I'm not sure. Didn't really say that, honestly. But I have a new 4K digital restoration, so it's possible that, I didn't look at the Blu-ray in the film, so I do apologize for that. But the 4K looks fantastic, and, either way, this is a great release to have for this film. I'm glad that Criterion put it out, and I'm hoping they continue putting out the films from this series. As I said, I am a fan of this particular cycle of Godzilla films, and I hope to see more. So that is it for this one. If you enjoyed this, click thumbs up, share, subscribe, leave me a comment below. Let me know, your favorite cycle of Godzilla films, your favorite Godzilla film. Speaking of that, just recently, recently, a couple years ago, I did see Godzilla -1. Fantastic film, on the way. I absolutely loved that movie. That was way better than I was expecting a Godzilla film to ever be. Probably the best Godzilla film I've ever seen in my life. And me and Chris saw it when it came out at the drive-in, and we were just blown away by it. It's fantastic. So, Godzilla's got a great future, as if it was any doubt. But again, let me know your thoughts, or just say hi. I'll always take hi. So until next time, this is Chuck saying I will see you on the other side.